it sounds like that you either built a way to have intuition or you have a system to kind of decide what makes sense to have as an open source project versus what you keep as your business value. Um, can you share anything about that system or how you decide what goes where? Because I mean, it sounds like that you look at it and you kind of know, but how do you know?
Man, I wish there was an easy answer to that question. I think a lot of it's intuition by our CEO and CTO, who are two of the three founders at the company still. So I would like to say there's magic to it. I do think you learn, you look for things along the way and learn. I would say the easiest way to do it is ask yourself, like, is this a common problem for a lot of people? And if it is, building it in the open, in my opinion, is the right thing to do. Like, we knew nobody was doing air gap deployments, so we put that at the time. So we put that in the open. We're working on a tool called Lula that's more about compliance, like ingesting compliance, mapping it and binding it to software, and then evaluating that in CI or runtime. There are so many different implementations of, like, I need to implement this policy. How do I know if my software is implementing this policy? How do I audit it? Like, that's an easy one to me because, like, there's a community around that, and that's not magic, right? Like, if you make it agnostic to the policy you ingest and then validate, like, then people can take it and do whatever they want. That doesn't mean we can't, on our productization side, use our, like, tune things so it very efficiently runs on our policy and our enforcement. But, like, generically binding software to policy is not it's not, I don't want to say it's not interesting. It's not unique to us. And so I don't know, that's a great answer, but we definitely ask ourselves that a lot. We did have something we were doing as open source, and we pulled it out of open source. I say open source meaning it's still on GitHub, it's still Apache 2.0, but we are no longer going to donate it. It's an AI tool, and it's not because it's not great. It's just that we were, quite frankly, being outpaced by other people, and we started just using their stuff. So we're like, well, we're going to divest in what we're doing, and we're just going to use what they're doing. So we are a consumer a lot of ways too. So some of the times, that's the only one I can think of that we kind of made a change, midway through development. But you have to be honest with yourself about what the rest of the community is doing too, right? And it gets back to having those relationships. Like, it's hard to know the truth of what's going on unless you can actually, like, email, Slack people, call them, and actually get the real download rather than what people put in a README docker on company web pages.
Yeah, and I guess maybe it's also the case that you've got your original premise. I'm going to assume that your founders had the original premise for the real business value provided wasn't necessarily one way or the other really, rotating around open source to begin with, in the sense that, and I know other companies that have done this too. It sounds very much like Defense Unicorns was formed because folks inside of the government recognized that they could do the things that would help the government more if they weren't in the government. Um, and so
Yeah.
you created a relationship where that's what you ended up doing. And open source is just, again, it's a tool. It's not the end all be all. It's a tool, and you can figure out what makes the most sense to, as you said, this is also not uncommon. You're building an internal tool, and at some point you go, dang, these folks in the open source just keep doing better. So we're just going to go use that. And so,
Yeah.
and you shift and you adapt, right? And it's all very fast paced in software, and open source kind of just accelerates that.
Yeah, you nailed it, Phil. Like, our CEO has said regularly to people, especially who's recruiting them, that the best way to help the government sometimes is not to be in the government, and that's not always true, but it is true sometimes. And the thing I'll just say is, like, it was harder to share source code in the government written by the government than it was to leave the government, write it in GitHub, and then just give it back to them for free. And,
It's
like,
not the first time I've heard that. So, which
yeah,
is
and
why,
so
yeah.
yeah, so you nailed it.